This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Well, it looks like it may be good news for Rudy Giuliani. He can get back to his full-time job of being a gargoyle perched atop a Gothic church after this latest revelation in court filings, so sworn documents, that he did lie. He did make false statements about Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, the two election workers in Atlanta. Joining me today to break all of this down is the illustrious, respected, and slumming it by coming on my show, Cliff Schecter. Cliff, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
Unsurprised by all of this?
Yeah, I can understand why you might be. I thought it might have been announced in front of Four Seasons Landscaping, but otherwise...
Yeah, that's the only thing we're missing. Listen, what I want to do here, because this is just breaking in the last few hours, I want to read a couple of paragraphs from the Daily Beast. They kind of give a very apt summation of what is happening, and then we can talk about it. Here's the headline: Rudy Giuliani concedes making false statements about Georgia election workers. Rudy Giuliani conceded in Tuesday court filing that he made quote-unquote false statements about Georgia election workers who are currently suing him for defamation. Wandrea Shay Moss and her mother, Ruby Freeman, say they have faced harassment since the former Trump lawyer and New York mayor alleged they left out the gargoyle thing. That's strange. Daily Beast is usually pretty good.
Disrespectful.
Former Trump lawyer Gargoyle and New York mayor alleged that they had counted extra votes during a count in Georgia for the 2020 presidential election. Final paragraph here. In the new filing, Giuliani chose not to contest the statements were false and published to third parties, but said his admission wouldn't affect his argument that his statements were, quote, constitutionally protected and that they didn't cause the plaintiffs any damages, quote unquote. He did not contest that to the extent the statements were statements of fact and otherwise actionable, such actionable factual statements were false. They're couching this entire thing in huge legalese and confusing language as a way to later, I believe, distance themselves from admitting that he lied about these two ladies, these two private citizens. What are your takeaways here?
No, that's exactly right. These are the games these guys play. They make unbelievable defamatory statements. They then go into court and have, some group of low-level goofball lawyers look up in one of their law books how many multisyllabic legal terms they can throw into a filing. And that's a way, you're exactly right. And then he can go back on the CPAC, tour and all the right-wing gravy tour and claim, I don't know what they're talking about. I never admitted anything. And, it's a liberal media conspiracy. It's a liberal judicial conspiracy. It's that's what Rudy's doing here. And he can do the whole thing probably while farting on Jenna Ellis again. So we can all appreciate that.
She certainly can or will. In the filing, it backs up what you're saying here, that multiple times it says here that solely for the purposes of this litigation, solely for the purposes of this before this court, and even if I appeal whatever ruling, I'm just saying this solely for the purposes of this litigation, over and over and over in just 2 pages. It is remarkable, the shamelessness of these people. And to that point, actually, I wasn't going to read this, but here we go. One more, and this is a statement from Rudy Giuliani's lawyer. Mayor Rudy Giuliani did not acknowledge that the statements were false, but did not contest it in order to move on to the portion of the case that will permit a motion to dismiss. Rudy Giuliani's political advisor, Ted Goodman, told the Daily Beast in a statement. And here, my good man, Cliff, really lays bare the hypocrisy and just rank grossness on the part of Republicans everywhere is this. This is a legal issue, the statement continues, not a factual issue. Those out to smear the mayor are ignoring the fact that this stipulation is designed to get to legal issues of the case. Smear the mayor? After he smeared and put these ladies' lives at risk with his lies and his defamation, now it's, oh, they're trying to smear me.
First of all, he hasn't been mayor for like 127 years, so that he still goes by that sobriquet, that he still wants that honorary title. It's like you're only still called mayor because you lost 47 other races since then. And it's embarrassing. But
if Rudy Giuliani could get away with it, he would want to be called not mayor, but the man who shepherded New York City through the trials post 9/11.
Exactly.
That would be some long title.
Yes. Oh my God. And what's so great that you bring that up. I grew up in New York City, and Giuliani was mayor for a time. I was in New York, literally saw the second plane hit on 9/11 and was down there. But even after that, when everybody's like, Rudy is amazing, people forget that before that, he was fighting with everyone. He was making outwardly racist comments. He had about a 30% approval rating.
Yeah.
And it's funny, his lawyer's named Goodman, because I feel like he's had Rudy's had a Saul Goodman kind of arc, where he always had this side to him where he's a scumbag. And by the way, Saul Goodman's much more likable. So I don't want me to even lower Saul Goodman to Rudy Giuliani level.
Save it for another visit, because not a fan. Terrible human being, but that's for another episode.
Yeah. But I think it's what it is that, like, you see in like that show, this guy who has kind of both sides to him. And when he was mayor, he would try to do the right thing here and there, but I think mostly just for his political career. I don't think he ever gave a damn about anybody. That's what differs him from a Saul Goodman who actually had a soul. And then he just went total post 9/11, like dark Rudy, where he embraced the far right of the Republican Party. He became a big Scalia booster to try to win in 2008. Embarrassingly, I think he ran in Florida. He thought that was going to be his big win. He got like 2% of the vote. And he just got more and more gross, started firms to give security advice to autocratic regimes.
Yeah.
So he fit in right with the Trump universe. I feel like we're in the era of like these great men, and I use that sarcastically, who were built up by bullshit. Sorry, but if you get in trouble for that.
It's what it is.
Bullshit, stupid tech, business, political media. And they all could have just been okay, but they decided to have much more public lies and have exposed what complete jackasses they are. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, all these guys are these unearned reputations for greatness. And they've all, look, now Giuliani is just, as you said, a gargoyle with shit dripping down the side of his face while, because he put on, I don't know what that was, while he's at Four Seasons Landscaping. Like that, he's a joke. But I want to say one more thing. I'm sorry, because I'm joking, but it's important to make this point, which is he destroyed these women's lives. These women had to leave their homes. They had to change their names. There's this power differential that the right has no guilt in using, where they have these huge platforms, millions of followers, and their followers are crazy people, as we know.
Yes.
And they will, Carrie Lake did this to the Maricopa County, the head of Maricopa County elections, who's a Republican, by the way, who wouldn't sit there and lie for her and say that she'd won the election. This guy had to go into hiding because people were taking pot shots at his house. He and his family had to go and get protection from the state. And like, this is what they do to people. So this case is so important that Rudy just gets his ass handed to him. And there's some huge settlement, because there needs to be a detriment for these guys behaving this way.
I completely agree. I think the more that this happens, I hope, I don't know, but it seems to me it would be a good outcome at the very least if it just disintegrates or at some level evaporates this notion of America being a meritocracy. Because for so long that we thought, oh, what a capable, patriotic, great American man Rudy Giuliani was. Yep. And he's just a dipshit. He is full dipshit in every moment of his life. How, in fact, did he take down the mob as U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York when this is the level of legal acumen he has? He
made Bernie Kerik the head of the police in New York, who was a mobster.
Yeah.
The guy went to prison eventually.
Yeah.
The guy, Mr. 9/11, Rudy Giuliani, he hires Bernie Kerik, who was busy having trysts in apartments that were set aside for 9/11 workers who were getting poisoned. Like, you're so right. I mean, just there's these great men built up by our media, one after another, and God, I do hope if anything comes out of this, first of all, I hope that there's such a decision that it protects people that aren't public figures that these guys choose to bully, like these women in Georgia, like in Arizona, because they're going to do it again unless they're scared of a massive legal judgment against them that will bankrupt them. That's one. And then two, what you're saying, that we don't fall for this, the media is telling us these guys are great. They must be great.
Right.
No. I mean, as you said, I think dipshit should be what's on his gravestone, and that's it.
I do have this question, and it's kind of unanswered. We'll see. But I wonder, I mean, this is ultimately Rudy informing on himself. This is Rudy turning state witness against himself. I wonder if this has any implications relative to what he has done in the Donald Trump cases, because he's certainly been called to testify. He's certainly been adjacent, if not a target himself. And yes. I wonder what he will do related to his loyalty to Trump to extricate himself from trouble.
Well, there were rumors out there that he had turned on Trump in Georgia. Whether that's happened or not, and with the Fannie Willis prosecution. Obviously, the same has been about Mark Meadows. I think you and I may have talked about this before, that when it's a president, you may need one person when it's somebody, a normal person, but when it's somebody that high, getting people around them, numerous high-profile people, is incredibly important. So we'll see about that. But God, he better not get immunity. And obviously, if this financial decision destroys him, great. But the damage he's done to our country, the damage he did by going and leading the effort in Ukraine to try to extort Zelensky on behalf of Trump and get information on Biden. I mean, he's been at the heart of so much of the law breaking and the garbage that's gone on. As you said, I mean, God, that he ever had this, he took down the mob. He is the fucking mob.
Not to mention the concerted effort, the organized conspiracy to end democracy in America that he's the tip of the spear of. I mean, he's the blunt instrument Donald Trump is attempting to use to accomplish that very goal.
Correct. And he is a blunt instrument. He's got that awesomely bald head. You can just, like one of those old rammers, you ram through a door in Monty Python. You could use Rudy's head, I think.
No. You said everything. He is an old rammer. That is so perfect. We're going to end it there. Thanks for the analysis and the torturous imagery. I very much appreciate it.
I do my best. Yes.
Listen, go subscribe to Cliff Schecter. Where can people find you? I'm going to give the work to you.
Oh, right. I deserve some work. It's youtube.com, C Schecter, C for Cliff, SCHECTER. We've got a little bit of a rebrand going on. So let's say you can find it under the Blue Amp channel right now, but there's some stuff going on. You'll see. And, because of great people like Jesse and a few other shows, and hopefully that we do good content, we've been growing rapidly. So that's the best place. At Cliff D. Schecter, you can find me on Threads. I'm not sure it's even worth promoting Twitter anymore, is it? Is Twitter going to be there next week? Or X, or W, or what? I don't know.
Right, I know. What is it this week? Triple X, quadruple X? Who knows?
I mean, at one point, Elon was like, because he's got a really good sense of humor, it's like, we should change it to Titter. I was like, oh, that's just hilarious. I mean, you're brilliant, sir. You're brilliant.
Again, another mark against meritocracy in America.
Yeah. So at Cliff Schecter, if you still are on Titter, you can find me there.
Fantastic. Well, if you would like to find me, I am on social media at Dollemore, everywhere that there's social media. I'd love to see you there. And if you want to support my work, having wonderful guests just like Cliff Schecter, you can click the super thanks button below. You can become a channel member for $1.99 a month, or you can go over to my Patreon page, patreon.com/I Doubt It podcast. In the meantime, if you'd like to leave me a message or Cliff a message, you can leave a brief voicemail at 714-576-4054. And of course, you can always email me daily at dollemore.com. I will see you next time, maybe with Cliff. We'll see. Until then, be genuine and take care of one another.